Sometimes I feel obsessed with this insignificant thing called self. Even so, I am compelled to preserve it. Am I wrong to feel so? Surely you do the same in my shoes. Maybe we're all cursed from the moment we're born.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of Dark Souls Lore, and an early happy Thanksgiving to those of you in the United States. My name is Alex, or Silvermont, and today is another double feature for a pair of characters from Dark Souls 2. Knight siblings, both lost in the land of Drangleic. Their bodies, wits, memories, and even their souls have forsaken them. Their futures taken, stolen away, and everything they were, or might have been, lost to all and sundry, save for the bearer of the curse. As she proclaims herself, if everything should fade, what would be left of me? We are of course talking about Lucatiel and Aslatiel, brother and sister knight from the land of Mirrah. This will be of course operating under the assumption that Aslatiel is indeed Lucatiel's missing brother. Whilst there is not outright confirmation of that in the game, it is a fairly safe assumption to be making, in my opinion. Their names are similar, they both wear the garb of a Mirror Knight, and both of their blades bear inscriptions to a special someone. And Lucatiel makes mention of her brother, even if she does not name him. Aslatiel himself has no dialogue, but for the sake of this video, I will assume that Aslatiel is the brother. That said, I can't see much relevance in their names. I did some research but came up with next to nothing. The only remotely interesting thing I found is Luca being the Italian for Luke, having a possible meaning of bringer of light. That and Aslatiel made me think of Aslan. That said, let's talk about who they are, why they came to Drangleic. From a gameplay standpoint, Lucatiel fills a role perhaps similar to Solaire of Astora from Dark Souls 1. She will offer you bits of advice, but primarily she is there to aid the player as a summoned phantom in No Man's Wharf, the Iron Keep, and the Black Gulch. Of all her locations, Iron Keep is the most notable, in that you can summon her for the Smelter Demon. However, she has no physical presence in the Iron Keep, whereas you speak to her in the Black Gulch as well as in No Man's Wharf, or rather the area just before No Man's Wharf. Beyond that, you can also speak to her in the Lost Bastille and outside of Aldia's Keep, yards away from where Aslatiel will invade you. So, why did they come to Drangleic? Purportedly, Lucatiel ventured here to claim her share of the powerful souls that brim over this cursed land. The truth, however, isn't quite so simple, it would appear. Whilst Lucatiel wasn't outright lying, she was hiding truths from us, initially at least. After we encounter her for a third time, she will shed light on her older brother, Aslatiel most like.
We learned to fence together. He became the most decorated swordsman in all of Mirrah. I never even compared to him. In fact, I never beat him. Not once. But then, one day, he was gone, lost without a trace.
At this point, Lucatiel is already feeling the effects of the curse, but interestingly, she appears to be perhaps in denial, at least at first. Why do I say that? Primarily from her language. Have you heard of the undead? These poor souls affected by the curse. She neglects to point out that she is suffering from that same curse. Then there's the human effigy, of which she supposedly has no idea what it was for. Why would you carry something that you have no idea what it's for and give it to a random stranger? For all you know, it could be some sort of crazy little bomb, even though it mostly looks like a little mesh. Whether or not she was in denial or merely hiding her affliction from us, it's impossible to know for certain. But Lucatiel has a fear of the curse, because of what the curse does to you. But why? Why would she fear it so much? Well, Lucatiel was not born into wealth and fame, she earned it, as did her brother. She became one of the elite Mirror Knights, by all accounts a famous company. From the description of her armor set, only those who have distinguished themselves in the battlefield were admitted into the elite ranks of Mirrah's official order of knights. It is common to hear of a peasant's dream of striving for knighthood as an escape from hardship, but who would ever think it possible? That strongly implies that Lucatiel and her brother were born peasants, and yet rose through the ranks, Lucatiel was proud of that, rightly so, and she will tell you as much.
My family had little fortune and no name. I had to carve out a piece of the world for myself, with two things, my sword and my loyalty to my lord. I was raised to wield a sword from birth. Life was hard, but I never gave it a second thought. I had swift success on the battlefield and quickly attained respectable stature. And then I came here to...
What else does she give away there? Why, that she's losing track of why she came to this land to begin with? To claim her share of the souls? Not likely, or if so, only as a means to stave off the curse, of which she grows increasingly more fearful of throughout the game. She will face down the Smelter Demon fearlessly, but the prospect of being reduced to a hollow and her mark erased from history, that is what Our Lady Knight fears most, it would appear. And what about her brother? Lucatiel respects her brother, and yet when she remarks on the fact that she never bested him, not even once, it gives me the impression that she might well lament that fact. Oh, I don't doubt that she loves her brother, but he must have been a goal for Lucatiel, surely. The drive to best him, to improve herself again and again, and then one day he vanishes, robbing her of that. So, two reasons would she have to seek him: to save her brother and to secure her own future, her own goals and dreams, if they were indeed to best him. If besting her brother was so important to her, imagine what it would mean to have that possibility stolen from her. So she wanders the land of Drangleic, searching for her lost brother, whilst also staving off the effects of the curse and aiding us. Although by the end, the thought of destroying us has even crossed her mind.
If I were told that by killing you I would be freed of this curse, then I would draw my sword without hesitation. I don't want to die. I want to exist. I would sacrifice anything at all for this. It shames me, but it is the truth.
Lucatiel knows she is hollowing, and what a terrible experience that must be. All alone in a foreign land, losing your memories and everything you are, that you've strived so hard to become, to an enemy that no sword can defeat. Maybe we're all cursed, she wonders, from the moment we're born. Harsh words, but fitting with the overarching themes of Dark Souls, including a dark futility that haunts so many of Drangleic's inhabitants. Eventually we'll find Lucatiel outside of Aldia's Keep, at the very end of her tether.
Who are you? Oh, no, forgive me. I know you. Yes, of course. How goes your journey? I know not what you seek in this faraway land, but I pray for your safety. My name is Lucatiel. I beg of you remember my name, for I may not myself.
After this final encounter, you have the chance to obtain her gear, either by killing her, or by her giving it to you. If the two of you survived 3 encounters together, she'll hand it over. After this, she will vanish from the game, forever. What happened to her after this we can only imagine. Did she wander into obscurity, hollow entirely, die to some enemy, take her own life? Either way, it's the end of her story. But why here? Why Aldia's Keep? The location itself is surely of no import, but the fact that Aslatiel is guarding the entrance not so far away from her final location. Do I even need to say it? At this point, Aslatiel seems to have hollowed to the extent where he is invading... Why? For what reason? You no longer drain humanity when you invade, so what is he trying? Souls? Bloodshed? There isn't much lore reasoning behind invasions in Dark Souls 2. It comes down to the wish to shed blood. I mean, why do you, as the player, invade? Do you do it to kill people? Do you do it to test yourself? Who knows? But you could speculate that Aslatiel's battle lust has turned into something more violent, more grim. But I think it's safer to assume that he's hollowed and is invading just for the sake of it. Likewise, I think it's a fairly safe assumption that Lucatiel found her brother, or rather, that he found her. And just as before she was unable to best him, maybe she suffered a mortal wound from her sibling, to which she will succumb to soon after we find her. But let's talk a little more about Aslatiel, shall we? We know very little about him after all, but that's not to say we know nothing, and this is Dark Souls. We can speculate and hypothesize. In my opinion, Aslatiel came to Drangleic in order to seek a cure for the curse, and what with being the perfect knight that Lucatiel claims him to be, it would make sense for him to selflessly set out on such a quest. Even if he only left after the curse found him to begin with. The one item Aslatiel can drop is the old Mirror Greatsword, an extremely rare drop, a weapon near identical to Lucatiel's Mirror Greatsword, save for the description. Greatsword issued to the proud knights of Mirrah's official order. This greatsword demands advanced skill in a rare and unique sword technique. A tiny message is inscribed in the blade, a message to someone special. And then let's compare that with Lucatiel's version. A tiny message is inscribed in the blade, a promise to someone special. Aslatiel's is inscribed with a message, Lucatiel's a promise. It's a shame we won't ever know what those messages are. But what do you think? Did Aslatiel inscribe a message to his younger sister? And was Lucatiel's a promise to her famous brother? That she would find him, that she would find a cure for the curse, or care for their family, if any such even remained? Or maybe it was a promise that she would one day defeat him in battle. Is there anything else that could shed light on these doomed siblings and their sad story? The fact that both are knights and came to Drangleic alone could be a clue. Now, whilst it's possible that a retinue could have died on the journey, it seems unlikely to me. At the same time, these are Mirror Knights we're talking about, the far eastern land of Mirrah. Although I'm thinking not as far east as Jugo. Were they typical knights with squires, full suits of armour, coursers and destriers? Apparently not. They are an order of knights and seem to rely largely on their swordsmanship. A unique sword technique is needed to wield their greatswords. And indeed, their greatswords are used with much flourish if you use them in their two-handed form. I expect they have much practice at honing that technique, as the Mirror Shield tells us that the land is oft beset by unrest. Now, it's just my own view, but Mirrah in my mind is almost like the Vatican. What became of the Holy Roman Empire, some say? Holy water, as it happens, comes from Mirrah, an urn filled with crystal clear water, originally intended as a soothing potion. This water scalds the skin of undead and hollows. In the old capital of Mirrah, an ancient well-protected spring produces holy water, but the water has been difficult to acquire ever since Mirrah became embroiled in war. And just what that means, well, I'll let you decide. Likewise, we know that Mirror Knights can use miracles, even if Lucatiel and Aslatiel do not. What if from the very description of the Great Magic Barrier? The Knights of Mirrah are expected to fight honourably, with reliance only upon swordsmanship. They only resort to magic the only time they truly need it, to face the magic of an enemy. Oh, but that's not all. Mirrah is also home to other knights, the Shadow Knights. The eastern land of Mirrah is not only the home of proud knights, there is also a traditional order of Shadow Knights, who use any means necessary to carry out their orders, who quietly carry out unspeakable tasks. As it happens, Havel is known in Mirrah to a certain extent. Tales of the Rock remain. We also know that Master Smith Llewellyn came from Mirrah, but does any of that relate to Lucatiel or Aslatiel? Not in any obvious way. Ultimately, despite their loyalty to their land and lord, they are loyal to each other, to family. Lucatiel, in my opinion, didn't come to Drangleic for the sake of her homeland, but for her lost brother, carrying whatever that promise was on her proud blade.
Have you heard of the undead? One can skirt this wicked fate only with the help of the souls found here. Assuming, of course, that the legends are true. I can only hope that they are.